Welcome back to the Gun Collective podcast. My name is Adam Kraut.
And my name is John Patton.
And this week's show is brought to you by Frida Munitions and Hollow Sun. Today, our guest is Gary Hughes. As one of the brains behind the innovative designs at Dead Air Silencers, silence is what Gary sells. In his downtime, Gary can be found building, building, not assembling, Kalashnikov-style rifles for those lucky enough to be picked to have one built for them. Gary, thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Dude, this is going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be
I'm
great.
I'm really genuinely excited because we have this is like patient zero of gun industry curmudgeons.
Patient zero. Well, we know where the problem, the anger starts with at SHOT Show. Just look at Gary.
I love it.
It emanates forth. I foster it.
Oh, I love it. Emanates. That's a good word for that.
That is a good one.
So
it's not as good as curmudgeon, but it's good.
Yeah, curmudgeon, I don't know why that word just fits so well. I love that word.
It's like one of my dogs. My oldest dog is a curmudgeon. He just always looks pissed off.
He's just frustrated at life.
Yeah, well, he's old, so.
All right, Gary, so VP of Sales, Silencer Co., 2009, right? This is way back. This is pre-Sandy Hook. This is pre-Salvo 12. This is pre-Maxim 9. All of these things at Silencer Co., right? What were you doing before that? Where was Gary Hughes back then? Who were you?
I was an independent factory rep for a lot of different gun companies and accessory companies and related things like that. So I was traveling around the country, mostly the American West, calling on dealers and selling those products to dealers mostly. And then I met Mike, and Mike was actually one of my customers. And when he asked me one day, he says, "Hey, we're going to start a silencer company. Do you want to sell some silencers?" And at the time, Mike was the only other guy that I knew that owned a silencer. So we kind of hit it off. And when he got to the point where they had laid the groundwork to start Silencer Co., I kind of came on board right after that. So there was really only 3 or 4 of us in the very beginning.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
That's 2009. So to give you guys, I mean, you think about that, that's only 9 years ago at this point, and Mike was the only other guy at that time that you knew that had a silencer, which speaks volumes to the amount of silencer sales and just generally what's been going on in that part of the industry.
Yeah, the game has changed, and you guys kind of helped change it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, you were the VP of Sales in 2009 to 2013 over there, and that's also during the time where the sales of silencers was really starting to explode, become a thing for the mainstream market.
Yeah, it was for the most part, it was doubling every year at that point.
Doubling?
There's
that's
national sales, not just Silencer Co., but nationally the sales were doubling every year.
Right.
That's so substantial, man.
Yeah, that is incredible. So I guess during that time, I mean, you're kind of at the helm of one of what was definitely one of the more popular companies coming up through that time period. Is there any stories that you have, favorite interactions that come to mind? Because you must have seen a lot being, the VP of Sales of what is generally accepted to be one of the largest companies at the time, or becoming one of the larger companies.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really, really fun time to be in silencers. It was still really new to a lot of people, and the competition was very aggressive with advanced armament in particularly. And I'm kind of a guy that thrives on that competition. I like having a very strong competitor in the marketplace to help drive things forward. And we certainly had that at that time with AAC under Kevin Brittingham. And we just had a lot of fun. I mean, the whole thing back then was it had kind of a family atmosphere with the smaller number of people that were working there, and everything that we did impacted everyone. And it was a great time to be there. I learned a lot. We created a lot.
Yeah. You guys certainly kind of set the pace for a very long time when it came to the rest of the suppressor industry. I mean, even the gun industry, everybody's like, whoa, where did these guys come from? What is going on here? This entire industry had to take a bath in knowledge. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We all had to go, wait, this is legal. Like, I can't tell you, even when I kind of stumbled into the industry in like 2011, 2012 time frame, I was still getting those, are these legal? I mean, to this day that happens, but more so back then. And I think that's so interesting that you kind of just rocketed up through that and helped make that come to fruition. So you spoke earlier about Mike Pappas, who was one of the founding members or founding guys in Silencer Co., even though the history books may not say that right now. He was there, and he did help put that all together. It would seem that after you guys left, a lot of people, once they leave a business like that, on whatever terms they may be, I don't know if I'm going to do that same thing, but you two decided to join forces again and start a different suppressor company, kind of taking it the way that you felt it should go. Can you kind of tell us how that came to be and like why you guys joined forces again?
Yeah, I mean, Mike and I are a good team. I mean, I've all the years I've been in this industry, and I've been in this industry since I was 18 years old. I've never done anything else. I've never worked with anyone else that I had such a symbiotic relationship with, I guess, with Mike. The things that I'm not good at, he is. The things that he's not good at, I am. And we just worked really, really well. And that pairing, that team, I didn't want it to get divided. So, it was just an obvious thing for both of us to kind of hook back up. We never really stopped hanging out. I mean, he's my best friend too. So we're pretty much always around each other and working with each other. And, we even have our side business, the MOD Outfitters, where we build AKs and stuff. Mike and I are both partners in that. So we're pretty much, business-wise, we're pretty much tied at the hip. We're a good team, and I don't see that changing ever, really.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great to be able to rely on somebody that heavily.
Yeah.
To
have that kind of relationship with.
I feel like Adam and I have kind of done that over the years. Certainly not.
We're not building silencers and rifles.
We haven't
here,
had the time that you and Mike have had. But what you said it was an obvious choice, but why like suppressors? What was going through your mind at the time where you're like, we absolutely need to take this and run with it our way? What was like going through your head when you're like, we need to do suppressors again? What was the thought process?
I was going to say, I guess the question is why silencers? Why not just guns or anything? What stuck out about the silencer part of it that was the decision there?
It was just like, it's what we're good at. I mean, it's what both of us have a passion for, and we've both been doing it for a really, really long time. And
it looks like we may have lost Gary temporarily.
Yeah,
maybe. There he is.
Gary's back.
All
right.
I probably have real slow Wi-Fi.
That's all right. So you were kind of explaining how you guys got restarted with suppressors. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a passion for both of us. It's something we're both really good at. It's something both of us helped, I won't say pioneer, because I mean they've been around for a long, long time, but we definitely helped at a time when silencers were really mainstreaming and gaining a lot of popularity, drive a lot of that awareness and change a lot of the way that business was done. For example, we were one of the first people into wholesale distribution with silencers, whereas before it was always kind of sold directly to a dude with an FFL SOT in his basement, and you had to like go to his house and get past his Rottweiler to pick up your can. We had to bring those out of the basement and into the showcase, at the retail level to help raise awareness to people that they could get them. And we both had a lot of experience doing that. And frankly, I mean, I had a lot of fun at Silencer Co. and, we did part ways, but I never felt like we left Silencer Co. I felt like Silencer Co. left us a little bit.
Sure.
The direction was changing. The direction that they wanted to take the company in was very different from the direction that Mike and I felt that it should go, and the direction that we wanted to take it. So when we had the opportunity, not too long after both of us had left Silencer Co., we hooked back up and decided to do the Dead Air, and that's been really good too. It's been really fun to sort of take something from nothing again to becoming a fairly prominent player in that marketplace. And by all accounts, we're pretty much number 2 in the market space right now behind Silencer Co.
And you know what's really interesting from my perspective is this go round, because the two of you had kind of made a name for yourselves, and that instantly got attached to the new brand. Everybody's like, wait, what? They're doing what again? Oh my
Right.
God, what are they going to do now?
Well,
everybody was jazzed about it, and that's really cool.
I can remember when the press releases were coming out about dead air silencers, and Gary and Mike are the brains behind it, and the internet was just on fire with people who
it was
were
awesome.
super
It was pretty
pumped. So I got a question here real quick that you said you've been kind of doing this for years. And you've been in the industry since you were 18. When did you get your first silencer? Because I think a lot of people that are listening at this point probably didn't hear about silencers until, the last 5-10 years.
I would say 5 years.
Yeah,
5 years is
the
a
majority.
Healthy...
So and you've obviously been you're what we consider an NFA OG around here, not just in like
he throws
machine
NFA
guns.
gang signs.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
but silencers.
I'm not as NFA as some of these guys. Haven't been doing it as long as some of the guys that are around there, but comparatively, I've been doing it for a long time, and then just as a daily focus of my life since I believe I got my first silencer around 2007 is when I believe I got it, and I had a very unfortunate incident with an unsuppressed M4 inside a very small confined area on a law enforcement training exercise. And I got pretty much permanent tinnitus in my left ear immediately. And my left ear's never, ever stopped ringing. And so I decided that next day, the only other people that I had seen that had silencers were law enforcement. And so I started looking into, what it would take to actually get one. And I did. I immediately went out and bought. My first can was a AWC Raider 5.56 direct thread. Because I wanted it for that application. Yeah, a Raider.
So Gary has a whole stash of cans.
Does he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Gary's got cans from almost every manufacturer I think that's ever existed.
Oh, yeah, no.
He could certainly expand on
cans,
that.
Period. Yeah, I like cans, period. I do have them from lots of different manufacturers. We're actually, despite popular belief and what you'd read on some of the Facebook pages, we're actually pretty friendly with most of the manufacturers. Good friends with a lot of them, in fact, and like hang out good. Like we're going to hang out at SHOT Show. We're competitors, but we all get along. We all have a similar skill set, a similar background, similar, shared experiences. And
shared passions as well.
Speaking, yeah, the people in this industry on this side, and I've been around the industry a little bit, and the NFA side of the house is a lot smaller and it's a lot more tight knit. It's also a lot more vicious in certain instances, but it's just in general, it's a good group of people. And I have cans from virtually every manufacturer, so I just like cans.
Yeah, well, who doesn't? So let's talk silencer designs here. There's only so many ways you can kind of contain that gas into the tube there. Give us the top 3 considerations that a manufacturer gives when designing a silencer, and then let's talk about what the consumer should be looking at on the back end when they're actually looking to purchase something.
Well, that really depends on kind of the company, the company's philosophy or idea, what they think.
Well, let's put aside everybody else. Let's talk about what Gary Hughes thinks the top 3 things are to consider when it comes to suppressor manufacturing. What are you guys going, okay, we need to hit this, this, and this when we produce this product? What are your top 3?
Well, I would say first and foremost, what dead air is about is not the sound meter. A lot of companies get too wrapped up in mill standard sound tests. What dead air is about first and foremost is the shooter, not the muzzle of the gun. And so every time that we design a silencer, the first consideration is not necessarily for the forward part of the gun, for the muzzle of the gun, which would seem kind of counterintuitive with a silencer. But really our first consideration is always, what is the shooter's experience going to be? Because we build cans. I'm not trying to build cans for some high-speed black pajama, door kicker guy. Although we have a lot of them that use those. They use our products. They do. But who I'm building cans for is me. I'm building them for Mike. I'm building for the American NFA consumer. That's who we are, and that's who our customers are. And so they're always first and foremost our consideration in every aspect of the can. So from a shooter's experience, what do I want? Let's say, just for example, in a centerfire rifle silencer, I don't want a bunch of gas and back pressure back in my face. I don't want a can that meters really good at the muzzle, but because it's got so much back pressure, it's really loud at the shooter's ear at the ejection port. I want a can that's got that happy medium, that right combination of back pressure and muzzle sound reduction to where I feel good about shooting. I'm not buying it to hide my location, which, there are perfectly good applications for that, on the military side of the house or LE or whatever. But that's not what we design our cans around primarily. It is around the shooter himself. And that comes in every aspect, in back pressure, in sound performance, in weight, in modularity, even little things like, what if this guy ever has to have a warranty claim? Where do we put the serial number to make sure that if something ever happens, this poor guy's not going to have to pay $200 more and wait for the ATF to do whatever they do back there for 4 or 5 months.
Stare at it, dance around your paperwork.
Exactly. So, that's, I would say that if you wanted me to narrow it down, I mean, you could say 3 things or, whatever you want to call it. But first and foremost, we build cans for the American NFA consumer, and we think we have a pretty good handle on what they're looking for. And the market success that we've had, I think, would bear that out as well.
You just reminded me of a line from Tommy Boy. I make car parts for the American working man because that's who I am and that's who I care about. I love it. I love it. Gary, I think what you said there is something that a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot. It's certainly becoming more popular with manufacturers now, is this emphasis on back pressure reduction. Whereas before it was all about meter, and now people are going, well, all of these kind of meter around the same area, and that's varies so heavily that we need to start focusing more on the shooter. And I think that's interesting because that's really where you start to get into the true science of what's happening there. When you can change not only the back pressure, you're managing this gas, but you're also working on changing the tone at the shooter's ear. And I think that's really something that I love about what you guys do, and what a lot of manufacturers are starting to pay attention to is, this may or may not meter at a certain place, but it's all about what you get as an overall experience. And that's something that matters to me, and I'm glad you and I see very, very close eye to eye on that.
Well, it matters because you're the guy shooting it. It doesn't matter what it sounds like standing next to it. It's what does that feel like when it's going into your ear?
Well, I mean, I get it to an extent. People care about muzzle brakes and things of that nature. Like, what's it like for the guy next to you, when you're on a line? I get that. But with a suppressor, that's not necessarily as much of a concern because that sound is typically just going downrange and not to the side.
Oh. Yeah. So let's talk about mounts real quick. I know the chemo mount has been something that has been very popular amongst your designs, and you've even offered a solution to another company's mount design that has sent a number of cans down range or gotten stuck. How important
is
that?
Yeah. Name names, Adam. Do it.
I won't name names. How important is the mounting solution? Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, let's just talk about mounts. How important are they? And in consideration, what part of the design does that come in? Is that something that's one of the ground things that you look at, or does that kind of come later on after you figure it out?
In a centerfire rifle can, I think it's probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, because a quick attach or a fast attach, whatever you want to call it, mount, a QD mounting system is the Achilles heel of most manufacturers because that is very difficult to do well. You can either make them not come loose and then they get stuck, or you can make them come loose and fly off. There's lots of problems with that, and especially with tax stamps involved and ATF wait times and warranties and everything else. It's consumer and customer, myself, I just really don't like it when my can goes flying down range 40, 50 yards, especially if I'm out hunting and I have no clue where it went. So I think that's one of the most important considerations. I think that's something that we did really, really well with our mounting system. It's called the key mount. We call it the chemo for short. It was so popular, in fact, and so well received on our products that we started to get requests from a lot of other customers from my previous employer who wanted to be able to adapt that mounting system to their product. So we eventually did that. Mike and I did that, and we came out with the key mount system for both the Saker and the Omega silencer coat cans.
Wow.
So those customers can use our mounting system and put it on their can and basically have a trouble-free QD mount. And it by and large, it doesn't get stuck, it doesn't fly off, and it's very accurate and very repeatable. So you can zero with it on, take it off, shoot some more, put it back on, and it's pretty much going to return to zero, which that's kind of the three things that are really difficult to do well with a QD mounting system is good accuracy, doesn't get stuck, doesn't fly off. And we learned through experience how to do that and do it pretty well. So that's been a really good product for us. And that's featured on all of our centerfire rifle cans with the exception of one direct thread model that we make.
One direct thread.
Yeah.
Which that's one of the Sandman L?
TI.
Or is, I don't.
TI.
It's the
TI, that's what it was. I knew it was a Sandman. I just wasn't sure which one.
Product line knowledge. Your Instagram.
There you go.
Your Instagram wow, if I could talk to
You're
it.
right.
Totally
Adam,
tongue-tied.
so Adam has this thing called River Mountain disease.
Yeah, I'm
where
dying.
he's just permanently sick all winter. I don't know what's
Not
happening
all
to him.
winter, but anyway, so your Instagram, those that follow it can see you have an unhealthy obsession with all things Russian in nature, particularly their firearms. Where did that fascination come from? I mean, most of us are good old American loving AR-15.
I own one AK.
I own one AK too, and we'll talk
like
about
them,
that
I just only
shortly.
have
But
one.
let's talk about your obsession with the Russian ordnance here.
Well, I had to step outside of the stoner box. I got a little. I've got a lot of AR-15s, and I frankly, dealing with guns every single day and dealing with things that I love every single day, I tend to jump around a lot. So I don't just focus on one particular thing. And, Adam, you've seen from my Instagram too, like I've got a really unhealthy obsession with FALs also, a lot of different things. So
yeah, it's all about that Rhodesia, son.
too. Yeah, I like that. There's some posters on the wall back here, but the Kalashnikov, the AK in general, I got my first one like right after the assault weapons ban sunset. So that would have been 2005, 2006 timeline. And I really liked it, but I was really into AR-15s too. So I ended up getting, I don't even know how many AR-15s I've had. It's a lot. It's a big number. That'll probably get me in trouble for saying that later when other people watch this. But what happened was I got to the point dealing with it every single day to where I just could not look at another AR-15 handguard. I couldn't do it. I mean, there's only so many ways to skin that cat. And I mean, the AR-15's been great for the industry and I love it, but it's come to the point for me where that rifle in particular has become almost a fashion accessory more so than a tool. And I am very much a tool guy. I like useful, practical tools. There's a giant toolbox right behind my shoulder over here. I'm really into that stuff. And for me, the AK is still at that point where the AR-15 was early on, where it's just a brutally efficient tool. There's what I like to say about AKs. The reason I like them is they're all kill and no frill. That's what it is. It's the assault rifle concept boiled down to its most basic principles and dispensing with all of the other BS, right? So for me, it's just there's beauty in the simplicity. There's history. There's a lot of history.
You're a huge history buff, aren't you?
I'm a giant history buff, and Mike will come in with a handful of slings that he found at a surplus store and be like, "What's this one?" And I go, "That one's Polish," or "That one's Bulgarian," or "That one's East German," or just think of all the countries that have produced it and all the different variations that have been produced. It is the most popular rifle in the world. I mean, the AR variants will never catch up, ever. There's no way you can.
I don't think there's. there's still so many AKs being produced. I think you're spot on. Like, there's no
America's not going to make up for the worldwide.
Well, they're
AK.
everywhere. You go outside the U.S. and they're literally everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. So you're huge into AKs and Russian style stuff. MOD Outfitters comes along. So you guys are in this transition. Dead Air is going great. You decide to take on yet another business. MOD Outfitters, for those of you that aren't aware, Kalashnikov rifles that are actually really nice. Adam happens to be one of the lucky few that has one.
It's the only AK I own. And
It is the only. Wow.
And Gary and I went through a lot of talking about this prior to me getting one. I was looking for an AK. There was discussion about Arsenals because Arsenals, they make a nice rifle. And, I was looking and he said, hey, want me to build one? Yes. No, I don't want an Arsenal. Yes, I want a MOD. So that's what happened.
It's also more special when you get one from a friend. So can you kind of explain that to us, Gary? How does that work for you? Like, how do you pick who gets one? Because that's not something you guys are making in mass quantity, correct?
Oh, no. Right. Well, it depends on what's going on with Dead Air. I mean, Dead Air is always first and foremost. That's our primary business, and we handle business there first. MOD kind of started right after Mike and I left Silencer Co. I don't know if you guys know this, but like being an SOT is kind of like being addicted to crack or heroin or something. I mean, when you can just make a machine gun, like, hey, I think I'll make this a machine gun, or hey, I'm going to make this an SBR or whatever. Once you can do that, once you've had that, it's really, really hard to give that up. And so right after we left Silencer Co., we no longer had a FFL SOT. Pretty much the first thing Mike and I did was get another FFL SOT. We rented a building. We came in, had an AOI come in and, inspect us and all that stuff. We got our own FFL and SOT. So it really started out as a way for Mike and I to continue to be able to do business the way that we wanted to do business, in machine guns and cans and, all of those things. But that kind of morphed into, both of us are very mechanical, Mike more so than I, but we like to build things. We like to work on guns. We like to do all those things. And the AK was one of those platforms where not everybody with a mag-pull armor's wrench can pull it off. You have to have some fairly specialized tooling, presses. We've got lathes and mills, and there's a lot more to building an AK than there is putting an AR together. And that appealed to me just from that perspective alone, that it filled my need to do things like that, to work on something like that and come out at the end with a beautiful killing machine, basically, because that's what I'm into. But that's how that kind of started. And I don't even know how much money we've spent on. If someone makes an AK tool, we buy it just to try it because we love it. But as far as the MOD guns go, we never wanted that to be to the point where we didn't enjoy doing it. So we keep that really super limited. Probably this year we'll build 25 or 30 guns. I mean, that's about it, and maybe one or two, for ourselves. But we just don't do mass production. It's only for people that we know or people that are friends of somebody we know. So it's mostly industry guys that have them, just because that's who our friends are. There's a lot of some of the Facebook groups. One of the big OG NFA Facebook groups is NFA Guns, and I've got a lot of really old friends in there, and some of those guys have them. But we really kind of only build them or even talk about building them for people that we know. And that keeps it a lot of fun. And those people have to have a lot of patience, because sometimes you never know how long it's going to take us to get one done. But we do them right. I mean, we build them like we build them for ourselves. That's the whole point.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm super pumped that I have one. I waited a while for it, and I was very excited when it showed up at the shop.
I mean, I love my AK. It's a Rifle Dynamics. It was built by one of the guys over there. So it was this weird story, but I love it. And I think I've got a few rifles, and this was something I was kind of hinting at earlier. I have a few rifles that were assembled or built or modified by friends, and there's something unique.
They mean a
about
lot more. They mean a lot more. I can tell you that the build quality on my rifle is phenomenal, but it
just means
built by a friend
Yeah.
was really special to me because it's the only rifle I have that was built by somebody that I know for me.
Yeah.
And that certainly is really cool.
Well, we have kind of a little rule. We have a little rule that they can't leave the shop until one of us has bled on them, you know, because inevitably you end up
bleeding on it somewhere.
Yourself open or something. Yeah, it's not like an AR-15. You know, you can put it together and not bleed. But they all get a little bit of that on them, so it's just
Excellent.
like a christening.
I think we need to take a trip out west and go
Utah would be fun.
assemble some or build some AKs. I think that'd be a fun thing to do with those guys.
Oh.
Bottle of whiskey
You
and some
probably
sheet
aren't
metal.
leaving in
Let's
one
do it.
day, I can tell you that much. So the intricacies of silencing a Kalashnikov style rifle. This is going to be the last topic we cover with you. You guys obviously at Dead Air introduced the Dead Air Wolverine, a can specific to the AK. What were the challenges that you guys, I mean, obviously being Kalashnikov buffs, it seemed like the next obvious thing to put out there, but what was the biggest challenge when trying to produce a rifle or a can rather, for a rifle that is built in so many different ways with so many different things?
I think
There's
before
no
that, it
standardization.
was like people were saying, oh, you can't suppress AKs. They don't suppress. Like, wait, what? No, that can't be true. How did you guys do it? How did you get to where you ended up?
Well, we've had a lot of experience with the platform, and you could always suppress an AK, and there were guys doing it. I mean, if you look at guys who pioneered suppressed AKs in the U.S. Now, keep in mind, the Russians have done it for a long, long time. You know, they've had silencers. The PBS-1 was kind of the original Kalashnikov can, but it's a wipe can, and like a lot of things Russian, the technology is very utilitarian and very easy to produce. It wasn't made to be super high performance. It was made to be good enough. Although they work pretty good with subsonic ammo. That's what they were made for. But there have been, and there were guys in this country, and the rifle that you have, John, was built by one of the best. I mean, Jim Fuller at Rifle Dynamics, he's done a lot to pioneer and mainstream, not just the AK in the United States, but the suppressing of AKs in the United States. And he did a lot of pioneering work in terms of how to make that an enjoyable experience, because frankly, if you just took a silencer and slapped it onto an AK, it sucked. I mean, I did my first one back in like 2000. I mean, we did it before Silencer Co. was even a thing. Mike and I took like an old giant Yankee Hill Phantom can. I mean, they're like, I don't know, what are they, 5 pounds, something like that?
They're huge, man.
They're huge, and we stuck one on the end of my AK and we shot it, and it didn't even sound like there was a can on it because it was so loud. Wow. And at the time, you know, we didn't have quite the experience or understanding to figure out, you know, why it sucked so bad, but we knew that it did, and it actually struck and caused damage to the silencer. And you know, we just ended up going, well, that sucks, you know, and we shouldn't do that. And I think that was the attitude of a lot of the U.S. silencer industry towards it. And the U.S. silencer industry is very much AR-15 centric, like the whole industry is, right? I mean, it's very, very centric to the AR-15, and that just makes economic sense and business sense. But if it's something you really want to do, and you know, the more that I got into AKs, and the more that when we really started building them and starting to get a more intimate understanding of what was going on, of course, being can guys as well, the wheels started turning, saying, well, that's not insurmountable. You know, we can work with that. And so you've got a few big things there. One is you have no idea how out of concentricity the threads are to the bore of the barrel. And that's an important thing with the silencers. You can't just put the threads on the outside of the barrel. They have to be concentric to the bore itself. Otherwise, you're going to have baffle strikes and you're going to destroy your can. And since the market was so AR-15 centric, where concentric threads are not really an issue, people made really, really tight bores on the silencers. So it was pretty much asking for trouble to even put one on a gun. In fact, today, most silencer companies warranty the can if it's used on an AK, or to prevent it being used on an AK, they won't make mounts in thread pitches that are commonly used on AKs, just to keep that from happening, so they don't have to handle warranty claims, because they're coming. So non-concentric threads was one of the biggest challenges, and how to deal with the fact that we know going into it, we're going to have non-concentric threads. They're going to be threaded to the outside of the barrel, not to the bore itself. And you've got that variation magnified out across Romania, Poland, Bulgaria, Russia. Go down the list, all these countries.
It's kind of an exponential challenge, because not only are the threads not concentric, but the rifles may not be built the same. There's idiosyncrasies among countries and things like that, yeah?
Correct. And not just that, but you have a very large sort of variance in terms of the quality of the threads and in the thread pitches. It's not like an AR-15 where I can say, yeah, it's probably 1/2 by 28, right? On an AK, it could be 24 millimeter, 22 millimeter, 14 millimeter, 14 millimeter left hand, right hand. There's a lot of different thread variances there and different thread pitches. And if you look at some of those com block thread pitches, frankly, the 24 millimeter ones, they're huge. You can't even fit a conventional centerfire rifle silencer on a gun that mounts 24 millimeter threads. So the Wolverine, going into it, we had to take into account the fact we knew they were going to be non-concentric threads and come up with a way to counter that. And what we did is we just took a large sample size of rifles, which is probably about half the rifles Mike and I had together. And we took all of those and figured out kind of an average run out from the bore, and how far out of concentricity they were, and came up with a taper, like a funnel shape inside the silencer itself, that should, in theory, accommodate even the most non-concentric threads, which is not something that had been really considered doing in the AR-15 market, where most cans were designed for. We also came up with interchangeable thread inserts to screw into the back of the can to accommodate that large variety of com block thread pitches that are out there and the vastly differing sizes of them. So the Wolverine can adapt to pretty much anything com block or US. I got a lot of guys run them on AR-15s too, and they sound really good. They don't sound as good as something made for that, but it certainly works. But on an AK, Wolverine's pretty much king on an unmodified gun. And that was the whole intent with Wolverine, was plug and play, rack grade AK. A guy goes into a gun store and buys a Wasser 10 Romanian gun, and without modifying the gun, he can put the can on it, shoot it, and have usable hearing protection. And an unmodified gun is not going to necessarily be stunningly quiet. It's not like a AR-15. A modified gun can be every bit as quiet as an AR-15, if not more so, which shocks a lot of people when they actually see it for the first time.
Yeah, I've shot a couple suppressed AKs, but nothing that was really truly impressive. I just haven't had the opportunity.
I think what was most impressive to me about shooting the AK with the Wolverine on it was the lack of blowback.
Really?
That's something you're definitely fighting on the AK platform. And I've shot AR-15s that were pushing way more gas into my face than that was. So,
dude, the worst thing about shooting like a suppressed machine gun
is the
AR-15,
crying that you do.
The amount of blowback is just absurd.
Well, the AK, sorry, did you still have time? I was going to say the AK is by design, the AK is horrifically overgassed. I mean, you can think of the worst overgassed AR-15 that you can find out of some of the early Daniel Defense Mark 18s, just stuff that's horrifically overgassed. They're overgassed for reliability, and AKs are the same way. They're overgassed for reliability with a wide range of ammunition. But that doesn't help you very much when you're talking about sound suppressors, because you do get a lot of noise coming out of the ejection port from that extra gas, that pop, that ejection port noise. And so with the Wolverine, that was the second big consideration, is back pressure. If you can reduce back pressure, you're going to reduce the gas and the blowback back in your face, and you're also going to reduce noise at the ejection port. And so the Wolverine was really the ultimate expression in our product line, and it's my favorite product because it was the hardest one to make. It's almost perfectly balanced on a 16-inch 7.62 by 39 unmodified AKM. you're looking at almost exactly the same sound output at either end. And
wow,
if you get it quieter in the front, it gets louder in the back. And once you've reached that kind of stasis point, that's as quiet as you're going to get the system unmodified. Now, you can modify it and get substantially better results. There's no question about that. If you send a rifle to Jim at Rifle Dynamics and have him tune it, or any of the other, guys that are doing that kind of work, Jim's always, kind of the OG guy that did it. So I always think of him first. You're going to get something back that's people won't even believe, and now people are starting to come out with things for the AK. KNS Precision just is getting ready to launch an adjustable gas piston. So it's not an adjustable gas block, but it's an adjustable gas piston. It's really cool. He sent us one to test out, and I can change it. You want me to change cyclic rate on a machine gun? I just turn the knob and I can change it. And it works, and it makes them sound even better. So you can really do a lot. The Wolverine's kind of that first step, and it's a highly thought out can, and it does address all the major issues with suppressing an AK, and it's my favorite can that we make currently, just because, like I said, the design challenges and the amount of R&D and everything that went into it was pretty monumental compared to our other products. Yeah. But it's really a cool can.
I think it's impressive. I didn't know that you guys had all of those challenges. I understood some of them, but I certainly didn't quite understand the massive scale of challenges that you were up against. Unfortunately, Gary, we kind of have to wrap things up with you here. So let's give you a second to plug things. Where can people figure out how they can connect with you and Dead Air and MOD Outfitters, how they can try and learn from the Jedi curmudgeon that is Gary Hughes? How do people connect with you, brother?
Well, we're on Facebook, obviously, for Dead Air. MOD's not really on Facebook. For Dead Air, we have our website, www.deadairsilencers.com, our Facebook page. You can connect with us all those ways, but I'm on Facebook, and I'm in most of the groups that are NFA related, and I'm usually being a pretty nasty ornery curmudgeon in most of them.
Ornery, I like that.
Pretty awesome.
I like that.
But we're out there and around, and most dealers these days do carry Dead Air products, and certainly your dealer is how you get Dead Air products. And MOD, pretty much you're gonna have to suck up to Adam or somebody else that I built one for, and Adam's gonna have to call me and be like, "Hey, will you build a gun for this dude?" That's how you get an MOD.
Awesome. Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And folks, again, if you're looking for some of the best silencers out there on the market, make sure you check out Dead Air's offerings. Gary, we'll talk to you soon.
See you, brother.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Well,
man, that was fun.
Always is a good time.
I wish we had more time. I'm sure we could sit and talk to Gary for a few hours. And I call him, we didn't get into this, but I call him a curmudgeon because I'm friends with him on Facebook, and watching Gary on social media, just making fun of all of the shenanigans and the silly stuff that can happen. He's made fun of stuff that I love, and I still think it's really funny just the way he goes about it. For instance, my multicolored gun, that's one of the things he hates. He hates it, and I love it because he's unapologetic about it.
I don't blame him for hating it.
Adam, it's halftime. What do we got to do, man?
Oh, well, I guess we got to plug our sponsors because they keep the lights on. Yeah. Literally, the lights.
No, there's lights here. They have to stay on. All right, go ahead.
All right, so our first sponsor this week is Frida Munitions. You may remember them from our Freedom Friday videos that we put out Friday, where we feature their products in it. They've got a whole bunch of different lines of ammunition, everything from their bore buster to their hush line for the silencers, and we're big fans of the hush line because we like silencers on everything we can put them on.
Suppress all the things.
All of it. So head on over to freedommunitions.com. Use the code TGC5 for 5% off site-wide. So anything you put in your
cart. That's pretty rad, man.
Yeah.
So the other sponsor this week is Holosun. You can check them out for affordable red dot optics. We've been using them on a bunch of things. They've actually got some really interesting new stuff coming out. I just saw a picture on social media of a kind of hooded optic that's not a tubular optic.
Neat.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I think it's called the 510C.
Well, I have a feeling we'll be seeing it at SHOT Show, won't we?
We'll be seeing it shot. I'll try to get a hold of one to try out on
Excellent.
our end, but it's going to be affordable because that's what that brand focuses on, good quality and affordable for the average shooter out there. So check them out, holosun.com. All right, what's going on this week, man?
This week. Well, we're going to start this week off with Cigs New Offerings.
Sig.
So Sig's been plugging our inbox with a bunch of press releases, and this one was from earlier in the week, the P365.
Wee.
Yeah.
Yay.
So apparently this is the gun you've been wanting.
Is it?
Not
No,
well.
hold on. I'm going to put a halt to this. Who wants this gun?
All right. Well, you want this gun if you're looking for a single stack 9mm in the subcompact range. It's a 10+1 gun.
And you didn't buy a Glock, and you didn't buy a shield, and
well,
you wanted a double
throw those
action.
all in the trash.
What?
You can throw them literally in the trash can.
That's probably not a good idea.
Especially that Glock. Make sure you bandsaw
The
it
43?
first. I'm just kidding, sort of. I know that.
I think, dude,
we're going to rip on Glock again this week.
No,
Glock,
we're
cease
not
and
gonna-
desist letters to theguncollective@gmail.com. Anyway, so yeah, the Sig came out with a single stack 9mm. It's got actually that looks like a 12-round magazine in that picture there.
I think that's an extended
that looks like
extendo
it.
clip.
Yep, that looks like it. This looks like the normal one there, the 11+1. The interesting thing is the price point on this bad boy is actually going to be pretty expensive.
Really?
Yeah, what I recall. And of course, I didn't pull it up prior, but here we
go.
go.
He's got Recoil magazine. They've got a full article on this.
And it's
written
at
by
the
Rob
bottom there.
Curtis.
Suggested price, $599.
$600.
Well, it says Sig
All
on
right,
it.
all right. So let's break this down. Where does the Glock 43 fall price range?
Usually you can find them in the $470 range, I want to say.
So
if memory
sub
serves.
$500.
Yeah.
The shield is like
They were
$400.
blowing them out. They were like $250 at Palmetto State
blowing
Armory
those
not
out.
too
So
long
we'll
ago.
call the
Gen
shield,
1s.
The
Gen
shield
2s.
is a fantastic gun, especially for
I have
that
one.
bargain basement price.
Well, even for not the bargain basement price,
It's
they
still,
produced
but
over
I'm
a
saying
million
even
of
more
them.
value there.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got that. Then you've got the 43, the 42. I put the 42 in there because I think it's a valid gun. 'cause
I have
it's
one of
very
those
slim.
too. Yeah, they're
But it's not 9mm, and people will argue that. But the benefits here, double stack, so Glock 26-ish, slim.
single stack.
No, it's a 10-round mag. It's got to be like some kind of variation on double stack.
I don't think you're right.
I'm okay. Well,
But you keep talking and I'll
all right.
keep looking.
So the point is, it's got 10 rounds. That's great. Regardless of whether it's single stack or double stack, I don't care.
Slim
if
line.
It's slim, right?
Slim
That's what matters. And then you've got what? Where are the real benefits here? It's got a double action. I pointed out to somebody that I think this is a rehash of the P290 because that gun was horrible. And I think this is a swollen, corrected version of what that was supposed to be.
It very well could be. I mean, we're looking at it up on the screen here, and it's a I can see some inspiration there.
Certainly. So the things that are going to sell this gun are going to be
The drop test.
Did you see they put out?
The
Oh
drop
my goodness!
test. Yeah, so
there
Sig
was an
apparently
image,
showed
and we don't have it up here.
We'll look for it here while we're talking.
Adam's
going
to try and find it. So they put out an image where they tested it at. It must have been 15, 16.
It was 20. It's right here in the article.
Is it?
Yep.
They put out an image of all the
More than a
angles
dozen ways.
of drop tests that they tried this at. It was amazing. There it is.
Yep, here it is.
He's got it.
Oh, this is.
I mean, it was absolutely incredible how much they went after the drop testing issue that they had, because a lot of people were very upset with that. The striker fired gun became hammer fired.
Oh, this is glorious. Look how many different ways.
All right, go ahead and put that up for the people
ready, go.
watching.
So this is boom. All
Look
the
at that.
different ways.
Talk about hitting something head on. So Okay, so it's a double action, long trigger pull. We can agree. Yeah, here we go. Staggered mags.
Okay, so not
So
double stack,
it's
not
the-
single
it's
stack.
It's like HK45. It's not really double stack,
But it kinda is.
Yeah, it's double stack.
Well, anyway, it seems like this will be a popular choice for people to go for.
$600 though. I'm
We'll
not sold.
see.
We're gonna try it out. We're gonna try it out at SHOT Show.
Okay, we're gonna try it out at SHOT Show. Next up on the chopping block, this offering
State Armory.
This offering from our friends over at.
I've heard good things about their AKs.
Well, so you may be familiar with their AR-15s, which flood the market. Anyway, so the offering is from Palmetto State Armory, and if you guessed MP5, you probably were correct. What will be interesting is to see how much this thing is going to end up costing. And apparently this is a quote-unquote raw preview shot. God, I hope so, unless this thing's like $200. It may become a very affordable way for people to get into the MP5 game.
So let's talk about the other options in that game right now. Who are you looking at? You've got Zenith.
You have Zenith.
Those, and then you've got HK with the SP5K.
Well, that's not a clone. That's a genuine.
Well, neither one of them is technically
that's
a clone.
Genuine HK. Because you suck and they hate you.
The
If
Zenith
you have,
is made on HK tooling.
Yeah. What is that worth?
A lot,
I guess. And then you have, well, it depends where you go in the market. You have the Zenith, absolutely.
Sure. And then you've got guys like Dakota Tactical.
Yeah, the boutique builder, Dakota Tactical, who builds a phenomenal gun.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay
guns
for
are
it.
expensive.
You're
Even
going to pay
Zenith.
for it.
I think the Zenith is like an $1,800 gun.
Yeah,
Or is it
I mean,
more than that?
what I'm going to be curious to see here is going to be whether or not Palmetto State Armory can get a roller lock done right at a reasonable price, and then again whether the consumer who's purchasing it will be able to understand the intricacies of the platform, because roller locks are not
What do you mean by intricacies?
well,
what does a consumer have to know about these? You load the mag, stick it in, it should shoot.
it should shoot.
Yeah, that's what matters to the consumer.
Yeah, well, that's
Now, will it?
well,
we don't
yeah,
know.
That's
We
going to be
don't
the
know.
question with the
But
Palmetto.
I think you're onto something. I think this is interesting because if they can do it like they've done all the other stuff, I mean, we could be looking at a sub $1,500 MP5, and that right there would be huge. If they can get this under $1,000, that's even bigger.
Well, you could find the same with Kohari and a couple other brands that special weapons that no longer exist, the Todd Bailey guns, and
Were they junk?
You
I mean,
get
you're
what
an
you
HK
pay
guy.
for. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes the receivers were done okay, but the rest of it needed everything replaced in order to run right. Roller locks aren't like ARs.
finicky.
So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Palmetto is able to produce a gun at an affordable price that works. That's
Yeah.
going to be the $1 million
I'm very,
question
very
here.
curious about that one.
Next up on our list, Not Today Antifa. And I don't know why
Gary
it
Hughes
popped up
isn't
there.
here
Yeah,
anymore.
Gary Hughes
It's
isn't
not
with
a
us
Gary
anymore.
Hughes
Sorry
ad.
about that. But Not Today Antifa. So why don't you give us a little bit of a visual here for the people listening?
So the people listening, we've got this was, I believe, a magazine ad. It's split with Pipe Hitters Union and Spikes Tactical, and it says at the top Berkeley, Portland, Charlottesville, Boston, which is where all these Antifa riots happened throughout 2017. What you've got here is a team of 4 guys. You're looking at their backs, and these 4 gentlemen are, what I would call looking like operators or threepers or some sort of thing like that. I don't know. They could be legit. That's irrelevant. The point is they've got some Spikes Tactical stuff, some Pipe Hitters Union gear on, and they are going up against a crowd of what is reportedly an Antifa riot. So basically, you've got them kind of standing on one side of a Jersey barrier looking into this crowd that is very angry. There's smoke, there's fire. It's a riot, and this pissed a lot of people off. This ad really upset people, and I don't quite understand what I mean. So these people went and rioted, and like, what is this? This not racist in any way, because it said Antifa. That's not a race. And then what? So what are people upset about? Why is this a problem?
Either it's the perceived use of force that may be coming from this.
Oh, I see. So people are upset that they're insinuating that you should go. I mean, they're not pointing guns at anyone. They're just showing, like cops sitting on the corner. Hey, we're here, kind of thing. Like presence of force.
I guess
is that what this is?
I don't know. I mean,
Come on, you're a hippie.
Dude, I don't even. I don't even know what to make of the ad. I mean, I'm confused by what its purpose is. If it's that you're going to protect yourself with your Spikes tactical rifle,
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And you're going to wear
maybe they all have like
stuff.
the snowflake lowers, because if they have the traditional Spikes lowers, then it's just going to look like two male.
Oh, that.
Yeah. So once you see that, you can't unsee it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Spike's tactical logo, and I'm sure you'll find that one out.
I mean, whatever. That's irrelevant. The point is, I don't understand why people are so upset. I mean, I understand it, but I hate that people are upset.
I don't get why people are upset. I think the ad personally is stupid, but
I don't think it's. I don't think it's a bad ad. I mean, it's just like, hey, look at our brand. This is what you should consider us for.
Yeah, I guess.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think people are really upset about that for no reason.
Well,
they're just looking to be
just
mad.
like everything else in life, right?
Yeah.
All right, and last on our list is
This is something that we got an email about today.
Earlier today. And we were looking for something else to talk about, and this one is going to be fascinating. Once again, the industry decides to poke the bear. John, why don't you tell us what we have here?
So there's a company called Franklin Armory who makes the binary triggers. Okay. The binary triggers, for those of you that are undereducated on that, are the triggers that have 3 modes. So semi, safe, and what they call binary, which is pull and release. So on the pull, you get a bang. On the release, you get a bang from the gun, right?
Yes.
And it's, you can shoot it like a sewing machine, yada, yada, yada. Fostech Echo is a similar concept. Now, they have put out a press release for this thing called the Reformation that is approved by ATF, supposedly. Says no tax stamp, right? So it's a picture on this thing of an AR-15 with this trigger, and it's got an 11.5-inch barrel, standard, what appears to be a standard receiver, and a Magpul SL stock. This appears to be an SBR. Like, when you look at this, that's an SBR.
Yeah.
Now, the promo also says it's not a rifle, it's not a shotgun, no tax stamp. And there's very little explanation of this.
So this is definitely a teaser for SHOT Show.
But somehow this is not a rifle.
Well,
can we talk about why this is potentially not a rifle?
I've got nothing.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, looking at it, it clearly looks like a rifle, but they obviously did something that and submitted it to the tech branch for classification that they came back and said not a rifle, not a shotgun, so therefore not an SBR or not an SBS.
So the thing that throws me here is that not a shotgun.
Well,
why is that in there?
Smooth bore.
What's that?
Smooth bore. I mean, a smooth bore would pull it out of the category.
That would make it an AOW, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, it's going to depend. What we don't know is we don't know the overall length of the
and we don't know what it's chambered in either.
Right. So there's a couple of things we don't know and that we aren't able to really get a good idea as to how this got classified. My guess is going to be that it's going to be classified as a firearm, but I don't know how. Just looking at it, I haven't devoted enough brain power to give it thought either. So this will be something that I don't know if we'll go check out, but I would be curious to see the determination letter.
The thing that comes to my mind, just looking at this, the reason they put not a shotgun, I would almost bet that is a 410.
Well, then nobody's going to want it.
Well, but the point is, it says not a rifle, not a shotgun. Okay, so we know from your episodes of the Legal Brief.
Do we?
Yes. Those of us that pay attention and listen, I'm there every week helping you go through this and record it. We understand the regulations here, so it's got to be an SBR. Refresh us on those. You're better at explaining what those regulations are and where that is. So it's got to be under 26 and
or have a barrel length of less than 16 inches.
So it's and or?
No,
or?
It's just or.
Okay. I knew, is it shotguns that's and or?
No.
I don't. Okay, maybe I'm just totally
No,
stupid.
it's a barrel length of under 16 inches or an overall length of less than 26 inches.
So what if the barrel length is under that, and you have it's longer than 26?
Well, and this is what I'm getting at. The question then is it a rifle? And then you have to go look at what the definition of a rifle is, and the definition of a rifle would be a firearm that was designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder, among some other things. I don't recall the definition off the top of my head, but it's got to be intended to be fired from the shoulder.
This is very curious.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd like to see the determination
Put that
letter.
back up on the screen so people can really look at that with us, please.
Okay, back up on the screen it goes.
Yeah, that's a very curious thing because
Try and make it
what
bigger.
in the world? No tax stamp, 11.5-inch barrel with a stock. The receiver seems to be like a little, maybe a hair different in the rear. No, I guess not.
I don't know.
So there's things we can't see. We don't know what this is chambered in. I suspect it might be 410. But then again, how could that be a firearm at that point?
Well, you'd run into the same problem as if it was.
It would be an SBS, right?
Well, you'd run
in
into
theory.
theoretically the same problem if it were a rifle.
Right.
So
WTF. I guess we have to wait a couple weeks or wait for them to drop more information because they are
which they
undoubtedly
haven't
getting
done.
hammered with that
I
right
do
now.
know from people's posts on Facebook that they've called the company and asked for some information, and all they got out of it was that it's not a smooth bore.
It's not a smooth bore.
It's not a
so
smooth
you did.
bore.
We do know that.
Yeah, but that's it. This is going to be one of those that we're just going to have to stay tuned and see kind of what's going on with that. And you know, depending upon what it is, we may cover it on the legal brief. Maybe. We'll see. It's going to depend on the information that's out there.
We'll see what shakes out during SHOT Show and things of that nature.
Yep.
Wow. That's a bold move as well.
Well, it's just one more way to
Poke the bear.
poke the bear. Yeah.
And show the ATF how dumb that is.
Well, again, ATF is tasked with the regulatory enforcement. ATF didn't make the law. They're just stuck kind of interpreting it.
Showing Congress how dumb it is. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Showing everybody in Washington how stupid the NFA is.
It is stupid.
Repeal the Hughes Amendment. Sorry. Taxation is theft. Yes, I got it in.
Oh, jeez. Is that going to become a
Yes.
theme here? Anyway, I think it's that time.
Yeah, it's that time, man.
Well, folks,
it's about an hour.
Thank you for joining us once again on the Gun Collective podcast. If you want to leave your feedback, make sure you do that in the comments on the live video. If you're checking us out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Firearms Radio Network, or wherever else you can
places.
find us, leave us some feedback. We appreciate that.
Be sure to check out the sponsors,
Yes.
Holosun and Frida Munitions, FridaMunitions.com and Holosun.com. And also, if you have legal questions, you can send that straight to Adam Kraut's Facebook page. I'm kidding. Don't do that. He can't answer them.
Yeah, so if you have any other questions or thoughts about the show, make sure, feel free to drop us an email, theguncollective@gmail.com. And if you're Glock, make sure you take your cease and desist letter and throw it in the trash can. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time.